the meeting of the Tyler County Board of Education to order. Please stand for a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission of Tyler County Schools is to provide student-centered learning opportunities that ensure all students will learn to their potential and master the skills, ethical behaviors, and attitudes needed to be successful citizens in a 21st century economy. Roll call. Trina Byers present. Larry Thomas. Andy Shreves.
Present.
Scott Strode. Diana Stender. Okay, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the October 7th, 2024 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Larry made the motion. Do I have a second? Scott seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, if not, then let's vote. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session with the attorney to discuss pending litigation against the board under item 2 as per the school laws of West Virginia 6-9A-4, the appointment, employment, retirement, promotion, demotion, disciplining, resignation, discharge, dismissal, or compensation of any public officer or employee or other personnel matters, or for the purpose of conducting a hearing on a complaint against a public officer or employee, unless such public officer or employee requests an open meeting. Diana made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Larry seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we will go into executive session. It is 7:03.
First off, thank you for having us and good evening. My name is Amanda Spencer and I've been a bus driver for Tyler County for 13 years. In those 13 years, I cannot recall a bus driver ever coming to a board meeting. So, myself and a few other drivers are here tonight to discuss the policy that I believe was given to you all, and then it was given to us, all of us drivers, to look over, maybe make some changes, just see how we felt about it. And we have had several meetings amongst ourselves. We try to make changes to the policy that was given to us, and then we find another gray area because there's so many gray areas with it. And we jokingly say this is like the insurance commercial. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. So, you know, as we come up with a scenario that could happen on a bus route, or, you know, with a bus, we're like, what? But, you know, and so there's a lot of things with that policy that just make us a little nervous. I want to start off by reading a letter that us drivers have wrote. This is just a copy of the letter I'm about to read. If you take one, just pass it down. And it says, to the Tyler County Board of Education, on behalf of the Board of Education drivers, we ask that you please keep the van and school bus accident a procedure, not a policy. Policies and procedures are similar, but procedures can be changed easier over time. There are many policies already in place for accidents set forth by the state. The Tyler County School Bus drivers ask that the procedure for accidents remain a county procedure. The reasons that we ask for it to remain a procedure are following: weather conditions, road hazards, animals crossing, low branches or debris, other vehicles, and various unpreventable hazards. In this procedure and policy, we have steps. If we have an accident, they're at the discretion of the transportation director and or the superintendent's judgment. These steps have to be evaluated whether these are considered major or minor accidents, and to take into consideration the appropriate action based on this procedure and state policies. Furthermore, a BOE driver includes bus drivers, mechanics, and staff, which include operating the van. This procedure needs to include all BOE drivers and not just bus operators. We thank you for your consideration and ask that this stay a county procedure due to the unforeseen conditions that can solely be handled by the transportation director or superintendent. Thank you, BOE drivers. So I'm also going to hand out a procedure that we have come up with based off of the policy that you guys gave us to go over and redline or red pen it, whatever. So the first page is the procedure that we are all good with. The second page is the original policy that was presented to us. So I just gave you both so you can see the comparisons of what we did. So a couple of the changes that were made was in the original policy, it only reverts to bus drivers. Well, this is more than just bus drivers because the van is included in this procedure as well. And, well, when we just take for buses example, mechanics are often our substitute drivers. So mechanics are driving these buses as well as bus drivers. So then the van's in this procedure. Well, the van, you have teachers, you have coaches, Mr. Hiley himself, many other people are involved in driving these vehicles. So that's why we changed the wording from bus drivers to BOE drivers. I mean, if we're all gonna be driving these vehicles, it should all be fair that it's all together. Something that we added in this policy was that if we have an accident, we asked that, after 2 years of the accident date that it occurs, that it will be removed. So we may never have a clean record if we have a driver that's consistently having an accident here or there. But after 2 years of the date of your one accident, that accident will be cleared. And we kind of took that off of the DOH and DMV's protocol of what they do. So that was something that we added into this. But I'll tell you, us as a whole, as the drivers, we've met several times to discuss this. And trying to make it into a policy, like I said, we just kept finding so many gray areas. Well, what if this happened? You know, and then we got to do this step. But what if this happened, but it happened because of this? And so to write it into a policy, it would just need to have very many steps to it. And a lot of things cut, yeah. And that's gonna take a lot of time, and that's gonna be quite a few pages long. So, basically with the procedure, we're feeling like, you know, anything that's done is gonna be at the discretion of Mr. Davis and Mr. Hiley, a lot of it. And us as drivers, we have 5 or more cameras on our bus. It's showing the road, it's showing us as drivers, it's showing our dash, it's showing the sides of us. So if we have an incident or an accident, those cameras could be gone to and seen. Okay, you can sit there and see the accident all play out. And then the buses also will have a box on it that show the speed that you're going, when and if you braked. So there's a lot of things that's going to come into play for them to be able to say, well, this is a major, minor accident. This procedure step should be taken. And then there's just so many state policies. So we as a whole as bus drivers would just really, really like to see this stay a procedure and not turn into a policy.
Are you speaking for all the bus drivers?
I am. Yes.
So I needed that.
Yes.
And unless you want us all to get up and give it. Great.
Yes.
Tom, you've heard me.
This is the whole. We have met numerous times, and we just end up being like, well, where do we go from here? Because, you know, what if this happens? What if that happens? And, you know, if it's a policy, we feel like it needs spelled out. But still, there's just going to be gray areas no matter what, because we can't say, well, you know, if this accident happens and it happens this way, this is what it's going to be. Everything's going to be different.
What's good is even the procedure is changed. Right. So there's definitely work been gotten. Discussions has been had, table discussions as a group, but the ones that has been anticipated. And I want to thank you, because it's not easy, especially when you're operating that machine. And I don't know if you drivers if you heard Thomas said, well, you know, you got to take care of yourself first. It's true. You're the driver. A very important job as a staff member. Classrooms are very important. The day, you know, anybody that tells me 23 accidents is acceptable, you're not going to have talk. It's far too many. And with this procedure and that discussions has taken place at the table as drivers, I appreciate you. And you as well, Mr.
I
Davis.
remember coming in here to a meeting, and I think there's already 4 or 5 policies out there, and I remember reading specifically one about the van, the number that you can have in it and everything. So I understand not wanting to have another policy, and I understand the procedure part too, because it makes it simple. But
It shows you
it's
work
good.
at it.
Right.
It's good, and
really
you
does.
guys took part in it, and you're the experts. That's what we talked about. Especially, we talked about, especially the bus drivers out on the ridges, and I remember Scott said, that's all of them.
Yeah. Is it?
You're the ones that are out there. You're in all those situations. So, I'm glad
I
that
thank
you all
you.
work together.
Thank you very much. And I'm okay with the procedure. Those policies are tough. I was that bad boy one time.
Yeah.
I drove heavy equipment.
So let me ask, what is the difference between policy and procedure? Well, I mean, tell me how you interpret it.
How I interpret it, so a procedure holds us to a standard. And it's something, you know, that Mr. Davis, Mr. Hiley, and you as board, you have your set rules there. You know, you have your steps to show how it be taken. But over time, if we see a change needs made, and our main thing is say we get a different transportation director or a different superintendent, and they're not having the same views as them. That's our main reason for wanting to keep a procedure, is so we
You
can,
can take care of it.
yes, so changes can be made. A policy is quite similar to a procedure, but there's a lot more steps to try to get that policy changed.
More of a strict.
Yes.
That's kind of what I thought you were getting at. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I understood what.
Procedure's more of a direction, policies than making. That's why.
And the state has, you know, lots of policies,
Yes, we do.
you know, and it's very cut and dry there to a point. Cause that's what, if you read those policies, and a lot of us drivers have become experts in this, we feel like. A lot of them will say, revert back to your county policy or procedures. And that's coming from the state. So, but yes, we would very much like to keep this a procedure, you know, and I feel like that we are good with what we presented you tonight. That we are happy with that being a procedure.
I guess my question is, Mr. Hiley, Mr. Davis, do you want to vote on this at the next meeting, have it on the agenda, or?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, they've been using, we can use the procedures, we can start using the procedures because they are what they're procedures. Procedures don't have to be voted on, but if you guys feel comfortable voting on them, and you wanna vote on them, I'm fine with that also. So you guys can just let me know whether or not you want that to be on the next agenda.
Okay. So the van is included in this, right?
And it makes sense, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't even think about vans or, it all makes good points, good, very good discussions.
Thank you
I'm
very
curious,
much.
let me ask one thing. I guess to Mr. Davis, and I'm just kind of reading down through the kind of, popped in my head. You might probably know this right off the top of your head, or maybe we have this in policy or something like that. What constitutes, because all these are just accident. I mean, is it incident, accident? Is it a deer runs out in front of you, or is it, a rock comes off the hill and hits? I mean, is this stuff is it
This is what we're trying to
all
figure out
fall?
still.
Stuff that would be like, if we're talking auto insurance, which I'm sorry, would it be comprehensive stuff, or would it be just collision stuff, or would it? You know what I'm saying? Like, would it be? We have, and I'm thinking in the kind of in terms of their protection, I guess you'd say. Kind of what constitutes an incident or accident. That can be pretty broad.
According to policy 4336, it states anything that touches, rubs, bumps, makes a mark is an accident.
So even if it's not their fault, it's just an incident in that.
Even if a rock comes off the hill and smashes, like on Route 2 between City and Citrus.
But there's preventable and non-preventable. So, I mean, like a rock coming off a hill, that's not a preventable accident. I mean, that's a unpreventable accident. You know what I mean? If a deer runs out in front of a bus, that's an unpreventable accident.
Do you handle those separate? Unpreventable and preventable. Do you handle those separate?
Yes. Yeah. You know, any backing incident is a preventable incident.
Gotcha, yeah.
Anytime you back up and run into something, it's preventable.
That's my job too.
I do that, and it's just a car.
I've gotta ask this question, like a speeding ticket, somebody goes out and gets a speeding ticket, does she have to report that to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Immediately, yeah.
I know I did.
Anytime they have any type of moving violation,
And
whether in
and it
a
carries
bus
with you.
or their personal vehicle, they have to report it.
And it carries with you.
It's the same as when you do a truck load.
I know, well, I know.
Yeah, it's the same, it's the same.
I know.
And I do DMV checks every year on their license.
Good deal, thank you so much, and thank you for the more time, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You did very
Mr.
well.
Cochran?
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, that is, all these gray areas of preventable, non-preventable, that's what we want to leave up to Shane and Mr. Davis to do. And I watched the previous where you had the thing about spirited conversations. You wouldn't get that if we weren't interested. You guys can make a mistake with your pencil there and erase it. If I make a mistake with that bus, I can't erase what I did to that kid.
True.
We take our job serious.
We understand.
And I know we don't get total respect for it, but you go talk to these bus drivers' kids. You go talk to any of them on that route. You guys should come out and ride that route. It's like I told Richard one day. He said, well, if you run a bus, I said, what if you did it on purpose? We have to make that decision in a split second. Is it safer to run into that car or go in the ditch? Plus, you're trying to watch your kids. It's not an easy job.
That's right.
I have work jobs that pay a lot more money, but I love this job. It's the kids. That's all that makes it worth it to me. It's not the money. But I'm telling you, a lot of our drivers are that way, and you guys are lucky you got them. But it's not all of them, but that's why we need this to be
We thank you.
flexible.
We thank you so much.
I'll tell you right now, this is the best job I ever had. It is the best job I have ever had. And
That's great.
I love it. Of course, I got a special needs.
You're a board member.
I have,
He's experienced, he's telling you what to
all right. Trina, don't put me on the spot. But no, it's a privilege to actually get to go out and go to work and do this every day, because these kids, of course, I drive a special needs route. These kids are amazing. They're an amazing group of kids.
Well, we really appreciate the job you do, and we know how important you are for our kids. And you're the first people that see them in the morning and the last people that see them at night. And
Good morning and have a good
we
evening.
know it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Davis, thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're doing a well of a job. Thank you.
You are more than welcome to stay if you'd like, or you can leave if you'd like.
I've been to a board meeting or two. I think I'm going home.
Aw,
You got it.
Okay, we have one more presentation. West Virginia Summative Assessment for 2023-24 school year. Suzette Miller.
Okay, now I have to log in, and I always mess it up when people are watching me. I mess it up
Close your
on-
eyes.
Yeah, so I will do my best. I knew it.
Gives us time to look through it, because it looks so neat.
How's your eyes doing? You said you were blurry.
Sometimes I get, they're healing.
Do you need another water? Serving me,
I'll get
a
up.
drink. Is there
Probably not.
sorry. Diet Dr. Pepper.
No, that's okay.
Water.
I'm allowed to
We
have
want to
one.
make sure everyone's happy.
I'm normal when I have one.
All right.
So I'm glad I have this.
Okay, before I get started, one thing, we had a great year last year, which we always have great years, but, our staff, I just cannot brag on them enough. And again, starting with the bus drivers, they do a fantastic job for us. That is a job I didn't like driving with my own 2 kids, let alone, sometimes 50 kids. But they do a fantastic job. I feel like we're a team from the bus drivers, to, the board office. And when we met with our new teachers this year, Mr. Heine made a statement to them, and it really stuck with me. But when he talked to our new hires, he was like, you don't work for us, we work for you. Like, our job at the board office is to make your job easier. And that, that's what we do. But we just, our staff, our aides that we've hired this year, we've just really had a great year so far. The first 9 weeks ended on Friday, which is hard to believe that we're a fourth of the way finished already. I wish I would have brought the hours, but our schools averaged about 1,700 professional development hours during the summer, and that's each school with their teachers, which is commendable. And that was every school that put in the hours. So they really worked hard this summer. They embraced what they were taught. They gave them some time to work on the new strategies and research that was provided to them. So I can't say enough things about our teachers, the hard work they put in. They are constantly looking at ways to help their students. They worry about their students, and they just want what's best for their students. So with that being said, I'm really excited to present our data tonight. But I also hate the fact that it's one day. Our whole school system is judged on one day. Our teachers are judged on one day. We did well, but we're so much more than this test score. And it's just like PJ said, we have the best job. We see kids, we see them succeed, and it's just our job to make them, be the best they can be as they move on into their future. So with that being said, okay, so we base our scores, every student achieves ACT, ESSA, replace No Child Left Behind. So we're looking at growth, and not only did the students master, but we're also looking, did the students that didn't master, did they show growth? So the whole goal is to show growth of every student. So that is our goal. We do a lot of analysis. We hone in on the standards and the objectives that they're not mastering, and that's what the student gets. We have intervention, which I know Mr. Winters has talked on at every programmatic level now, so we are really honing in on those skills that each individual student needs. We also get a balanced scorecard every year, and that came out a few weeks ago, and it has 5 indicators: academic achievement, academic progress, that is that growth, our graduation rate, English language proficiency, and student success. And that's where we look at attendance and behavior. This is the scorecard, and it's on the West Virginia Department of Education website. And I always get confused by this, but when the graphs are larger, like with the yellow, if that cell is filled in with more yellow, that's a good thing, because that means we're almost to blue of meeting the standards. According to our balanced scorecard, we're in good shape. We're sort of on the watch list for attendance, but that's the one factor that we have no control over, unless we go and physically make those kids come to school. But we're sort of on a watch list for that, but I think the majority of the state is in that same situation with the attendance policy and those being chronically absent. I will commend, Mrs. Walton is on the phone with parents all the time, trying to get students to school. Our communities and schools, the 3 people that we have in those positions, Joey Sturry does a fantastic job, and if you've ever worked with middle school kids, that's my favorite age group, but it's not the easiest age group to work with. But he goes into the classrooms, which I love, instead of the kids being pulled out of the classroom to meet with him, which is usually what middle school students want. He goes to the classroom, so they're not getting out of the academic work that they should be doing. Leanne Butcher does a fantastic job at Sistersville, and then Aaron Heasley at Borman. So we're very, very fortunate with those people, and hopefully with their work with Mrs. Walton, we will improve our attendance. Okay, looking at the state comparison. In all three subject matters that are tested, we are above state average. Looking at this graph, you can see that math, which years ago, that it would have been the opposite, where reading and English language arts would have been higher as far as the gap, but math seems to be our strongest at this point. But we are above the state average in all three subjects. If you look at this chart where it says comparison, this shows compared to the state average. If it's green, that's the percent that we're higher than the state average, and then if it's in red, that's the percent that we are below state average. So looking at this, we're almost completely green. The areas that are red, the one for the 6th grade, that has a high population of special education students. So we were fortunate enough to hire an additional special ed teacher at the middle school to help with that. So we're hoping to see improved scores with that grade level. But everything else, we might be like -2, -1. But overall, very, very pleased with our scores. Okay, then next I have a graph showing the proficiency rate trend by subject. And as you can see, we did dip. Of course, that's 20, 21. And I usually use that as our baseline moving forward because it's hard to compare what we were before missing all that instructional time. But as you can see, we are improving each year. The line is moving in the right direction. And one thing I've had to learn is patience. You can't expect, just little steps to make those scores go up. I mean, overall, we were 10th in the state, which we did move up a place from last year. And we're with the counties that traditionally do well, the larger counties. So very, very pleased with that as well. And then this is sort of hard to see on the screen, but I gave you a copy. And if you look at the colors, it sort of tracks our students. Like if you look at the reading language arts, the bright yellow will show you each year how they do. So and as you see, we're still struggling with that 5th to 6th grade drop, which that has been there since I was a teacher at the middle school. We're still trying to find the magic wand to fix that, but again, we're competitive with the state, so it must, it's a statewide or nationwide issue. And that is all I have for that. And then just a few things that we're doing moving forward. The high school, we're seeing a lot of great things happen at the high school. Mr. Morse just let me know today that we were 6th overall in the state with post-secondary success, which that would be our college, our CTE completers, things, moving forward. So it's great to see our students be so successful once they leave high school. We were 99% on the certified end of year 2024 with CTE, which is huge, and that was a big increase from the year before. Like I said, we've hired an additional special ed teacher at the middle school and the high school, hoping to, again, be able to work with those students with those skills that they have deficits in. At the elementary level, with the 3rd Grade Success Act, we're shifting a little bit with our instruction with K through 3. Our 1st grade group that we have now, once they get to 3rd grade, if they don't get mastery on the GSA, then they will be retained. So we're really watching that closely. We're not sure what's going to happen as far as the state goes, as far as regulations. That's the only information they've given us at that time. But so what we've done, we're really focusing on the science and reading, and that's been my focus last year and the beginning of this year. We're also, the state is implementing, we're having a county numeracy team, so we're also focusing on math, K through 3. We're looking at number talks, the 8 mathematical habits of mind. And we're also working on developing critical thinking classrooms. And I don't know if you have students at the middle school and high school, we're using vertical non-permanent writing surfaces, which basically are whiteboards on the walls where kids are up, they're working in groups. The teacher can monitor and participate in the discussion and the process that they're using. So that's all I have. Any
I
questions?
think I saw all those whiteboards in Mr. Tucker's room.
Yes, he was the first one that got them, and he sort of led the charge on that.
Yeah.
And then he did some training, and then all the high school teachers wanted them, and then once the middle school, he did some training with them, so they got them, and then we're trying to find a way with the elementary because they lack space, but we're trying to find something portable that we can have it trickle down to them as well.
Great.
But yeah, and I participate in that, and it's very beneficial for them.
So when you say that they have to be proficient by the 3rd grade, are you talking all 3 of the things that are tested, or?
I think they're just looking at the reading and math.
Okay,
They won't be tested in science until 5th grade.
okay. Oh, I see that.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're not proficient in reading, then you will be held back until you are?
That is what the bill says. But we're waiting for the exceptions, which we're sure they're going to come, you know. I mean, looking at our numbers, I mean, that's entirely too many people to retain. And we also know the retention really isn't that beneficial to students in their growth at that point. So we're just sort of waiting for the state to figure it out and to give us specifics in the criteria for
When
that.
does it go into effect?
It's why we're building, like, with the bill, that's when we added the 1st grade aides, the 2nd grade aides.
Oh, gotcha.
And that next year will be the 3rd grade aides, but it's the 1st grade, the group that's in 1st grade now will be the first group that applies to. And if they score, like we do the benchmarks on progress, if they score below the cut score, then we send a letter home, and then they receive, it's sort of like a personalized education plan. Like, we'll look at those skills, and then the teachers pull them and work with them. And we really have seen improvement with it. It's sort of forcing to look at those skills.
Going back to our staff, you know, play dominoes when you have a group of 1st graders having 3 staff members and then move on to the 2nd, that 3rd carries over. Has there ever been discussion of keeping that staff at 3 at grade 1 and continue just to add the staff, not eliminate anybody?
What we look at in our issue now is that
Student
finding,
number.
well, and it's like for us right now, it's finding certified people that, it's like, you want to make sure you just don't want a body. You want somebody who
Right.
can actually, especially at those younger levels.
Yeah.
What we look at when we have, because we have a 2nd grade teacher and a third grade teacher at Borman and a third grade teacher at Sistersville. At the mid-year, we'll look at their middle of the year benchmark, and then we'll take a look at those scores and determine which grade would benefit most from having that teacher. We're seeing the aides have added, a lot of support in those classrooms. But I would say we would have more classrooms with 3 teachers if we could find the
You
people.
get more one-on-one.
Right. Well, and if you could find the people
Right.
to, and I'll be honest, with
Makes sense.
elementary schools, we're out of room. I don't know where we would squeeze, unless they were like, outside on the playground. But especially Sistersville. Sistersville is crammed, and Borman right now, they're full. They're full. So,
Thank you, Ms.
all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, delegations,
No delegations tonight.
communications,
Nothing in communications.
superintendent's report.
Under superintendent's report, I have a Neola contract. I just want to explain to you what, kind of in a nutshell, what Neola is. Neola is a company that is working now, I believe, with 37 counties in the state of West Virginia. And what Neola does is they vet all your policies, and then what will happen is they will they will rewrite our policies, combine some of our policies that could be combined. Then they also provide the service of updating when legislature changes 52 state laws. They will also update our county policies as you move forward. A lot of counties in the state of West Virginia have partnered with Neola. Blaine Hess, who was a superintendent in Jackson County for many years, works for Neola now. Years ago, I remember in Western County, and I believe Mr. Davis, they had looked at Neola years ago, but what the service was years ago was they kind of gave you the flash drives and you had to do all the work, the administrators in the county office. Well, as administrators in the county office, you don't have time to rewrite all policies in a year. So now they provide a service where they will rewrite those policies. So how that would work with us is, Mr. Thomas, you may remember this a few years ago at MOVTI. They would rescind our policies, and then we would vote on all the new policies that Neola would provide. Now, this would take, I think the contract says 18 months. So it would not be like they're not going to do them all in a week and we're going to vote them all out, vote them all in. So it'll be over time. You guys will have a chance to vet those policies also that they rewrite. Ms. Stender, I know that those policy manuals that we printed for you are like this thick.
Yes, they are.
Our goal would be to make those more manageable and more reader friendly. If you want to see I know Doddridge County uses Neola, so if you want to look at a county website that has Neola, and then what they do also is they recategorize and number them. So instead of policy JBK, they'll do policy, and then it'll be under the subheadings like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So it makes it more streamlined. And with your blessing, I'd like to move forward with a contract with them to start this process in Tyler County.
So it won't change the policy.
No.
It condenses them.
The greatest thing about it is when there are updates by the state or the federal government, they will take care of those policies that they fit in and help change our policies at the same time. So we don't miss anything.
So my understanding is they see the state change. They're up in the legislatures and all that, or listening.
Right.
So then they bring it back.
They bring it back to you all to vote to make those changes.
I'm just curious, the price, what's the price tag on that? I'm just curious.
Which is actually about the same cost as it was. Mr. Hoover and I looked at it, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And like he said, back then we were doing all the work and it was the same cost. And now they're basically doing all the work and not us. So it's like, well, that's why we didn't move forward back then is we're doing all the work. Why would we pay them to basically house the policy?
Makes sense.
It's up front, the first year or whatever is $19,000, and then moving forward, I was trying to find. There's a yearly updating fee that I can't remember.
It's very, very reasonable. I mean, compared to software contracts that we renew every year, it's. I've reviewed the contract and I've reviewed the outs of the clauses. The big thing, if we walk away from Neola, these are our policies. It's not like they take them and we'd have to start over. It would continue to be our policy. And that was our biggest concern is, what happens if, 10 years from now we decide, well, we don't want to be with this company any longer. The board at that time would be able to go in a different direction and we would have the right to our policies.
What's nice about it is, again, they're sitting, listening, taking notes. Changes needs to be brought.
And if we add a new policy, we send it to them.
If we have an idea for a policy, they usually will vet all the policies that they have around the country and they'll try to find one that's similar, and then they will create one based on maybe the specific needs that we
Then we would vote on, correct?
Correct. Yeah, all policies have to be voted on. It just be
And it's like when Stacy gave me that book that was so thick. She goes, now you know when some of these are updated, we'll have to take some out and I'll give you the ones to put back in. That would kind of save that, right? And I think Suzette would.
I just wanted to say, I mean, we spend a lot of time here looking at policies, and I just feel that if it was put in simpler terms, like we struggle sometimes with some of the policies to understand them, that I can't imagine people that aren't familiar with those policies trying to decide, you know, what they're saying. I just think it would be better for everyone who needs the policy, whether it be parents, community. It would just be simplified.
Makes sense. Thank you.
It's easier, the numbering scheme that they use is easier for someone to, you know, to figure out. Even as long as I've been here, you know, I'm like, what section is the policy, is that under? And, you know, you think, well, it's under personnel. Well, no, it's not under personnel. It's under students or something, you know. Some of our policies don't necessarily belong in the subcategory that they should, I think.
So it'll be our policy. They'll organize it and make it more.
It'll be our policies, and they'll look at all of our policies and make changes where they feel necessary. Of course, I mean, you guys are gonna vet all those policies. If there's a change to an existing policy, then you're gonna approve the change to the policy.
Or if we have 3 policies that are similar or alike and can be combined to one policy, they'll bring that as one policy for you guys to vote on.
Or a mission of policies that, you know, that really don't, there's a few I'm sure there's policies we have that honestly could be omitted.
I have all kind of sticky notes and highlighted things. I've gone through 2/3 of them. It's been a good bit of time, and I have so many questions. I just thought maybe we could have a work session sometime just on policies and figure them out.
I like the idea.
Okay,
Yes, sounds good.
do we have a motion, on, accepting, the superintendent's advice, in contracting with Neola?
So moved.
All right, I'll second.
Okay, Scott made the motion, Diane seconded. Any other questions before we vote? Okay, then all those in favor of contracting with Neola, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, update on Wetzel Tech collaboration.
Mr. Strode had asked last time that we start looking at some more things that we could do for CTE programs. I have a meeting set up with Mr. Kimball and Mrs. Kimball, which makes it that we're going to look at. They've already given us the okay to allow our students to next year start attending the baking and pastrying and the Pro Start Kitchen CTE program. They also gave us, we could also start sending some of our kids to their health occupations. You know, we have that in Moftai. I think it's a little different. They're doing some different things at Wetzel Tech with that, and we're going to go over those. The other thing that we're going to be able to do is, I think when Mr. Kimball was here, he talked to you about the third graders going, and they have like a Polar Express where they get to see the CTE. We've been approved to go take our third graders to that, so we're going to collaborate with them in that sense. How we've done it in the past, and that'll be up to Jeff and Jeff, the two treasurers. For instance, when we would send students to the electrical program over the past couple years, we'd look at how many students are in the class and then take the number of students that are ours, and that's how we would divide the salary of the instructor. So I think that's what we'll do moving forward. So like if in the Pro Start there were 10 kids in the class, 5 of them were ours, we'd pay 50% of the salary of that. They would be their employee, but we would let the two treasurers decide.
It's really a win-win for both counties, because, you know, it's very expensive for Board of Education to house these programs, so, you know, we're benefiting from it, and Wetzel County's benefiting because we're sharing the cost with them.
We do the same thing at Maltech, correct?
Right, correct.
Same thing.
Maltese the exact same way.
Same thing.
It's a percentage of attendance and, you know, to their total budget and that. Yep.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions about the collaboration? Okay, let's move on. Committee reports. Project updates?
Project updates, just real quick. Continue to work on the upstairs and downstairs of the new building. I don't know if anyone's taken a drive out back and looked, but I think on the end closest to the creek, I think the blocks are as high as they're going to go now. So you can see how high the two-story addition is going to be. Downstairs, they're working on door frames. We're putting up steps to the mezzanine now. We're getting close to being able to utilize the entire gym space. I feel very confident that by basketball season there'll be no issues with being able to utilize the entire space. We have a construction meeting tomorrow, progress meeting tomorrow, so I'll have more information then. But if you've been out back, we've now started storing stuff up on the hill also. So we have a big storage yard of things that have come in that they're working. Those guys they're working. Those block layers are working. I mean, everybody has something going on. I don't mean to make light of it, but I don't know if you guys ever watch Fraggle Rock, but the little Fraggles, that's what they remind me of out there. Those guys are moving. I mean, they are moving. So they work hard, and I appreciate their hard work. And I try to let Kalen, who's the supervisor of the job for CCI, does a great job managing his people and making sure that we're getting good quality work.
Are they trying to give you like a expected estimated date of completion?
Completion,
when you have your
like
meetings?
complete.
I mean, I know it could change, as
Usable.
you go.
Yeah. Reno is supposed to have a better idea tomorrow. Reno is the boss of CCI. So he's supposed to have a better idea tomorrow. I know there were some things, and it's left me now. I can't remember what are some of the things we're waiting on for it. I know one, thinking back, tile was a big issue to start. I think we're moving forward there. But yeah, I can bring that. I'd be more than happy to bring that.
I'd never heard of. I don't think I'd ever heard it. You might have told us. I've long forgot. So
we've been mainly focused on making sure that we can utilize the high school gym for basketball season. I mean, I think that's coaches have had to really. I mean, they've sacrificed not having for fall sports, volleyball and cheerleading, have had to sacrifice, but there's no good time for construction if you can't do it all in the summer. So it just so happened that this is what it is. The other piece, the meat slab and head house, I don't know if you've seen that, but there's block laid for the foundation. We're working on, as I told you guys, we had a mold issue in the upstairs of or in the ceiling of the meat slab. So we're working through that process now to get that abated.
They were abating today.
Oh, they were abating today. So once we get that all cleaned up, we'll be ready to rock and roll in there. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get pretty much all new stuff in that meat slab also. So that's your project updates.
Okay, staff reports?
No staff reports.
Okay, financial. Budget revision request.
For the two new members, the green sheet, a budget revision request. I don't know if they're on green or if they're on white, but anyways, a budget revision request is we approve the budget in April or May, and once we approve the final budget in May, any revision that we make to that budget comes to you on one of these sheets as a budget revision request. The first one is revisions 1 through 6, and these are all carryover supplements. And what that means is simply that we're carrying over items that were on the books at the end of FY24, we're carrying over into FY25. Example, if we had a receivable in Title I for $50,000, we're carrying that receivable over into FY25 for $50,000. If we still had $20,000 in special education funds at the end of FY24, we bring that over. So all projects that are in the restricted fund are brought over into the current year. Encumbrances, any encumbrance, which is a purchase order that we have on the books at the end of FY '24, we're bringing that into FY '25. That is the revision 1. Revision 3 is the committed fund balance carryover fund 51. It's the largest amount, $29.2 million. Fund 51 is our capital project fund. The projects that were going on and the money was committed for those projects in FY '24, we're carrying that money into FY '25 to start the balance in FY '25. The committed fund balance in Fund 11, the board approves every year the things that we're committing funds for. One would have been the budget that was finished for May. We use a carryover balance of $250,000. That's part of the committed fund balance. In addition to that, we commit money for indirect costs. We commit money for Medicaid project. Basically, the board has already committed those funds prior to the end of the fiscal year '24. We're bringing them over now into FY '25 so we can get them on our books. Same thing, the last two revisions, 5 and 6, are is Fund 71, and that's the ESSER money, which ends September 30th of this year. Actually, we spent primarily all of our ESSER money at the end of FY '24. We were pretty well liquidated out on all of our ESSER money. The next one, and you'll get these from time to time, these are revisions 101 through 115, and I'm not going to go through each one of them unless you want me to. Simply what it is, every grant that we receive, we'll get a grant award from the state. First one, example, IDEA, revision 101, IDEA. It's IDEA speech testing kits. We got a grant from the state for $9,567 to buy these speech testing kits. I have to budget. There's no budget in there for that. It's in a specific project. The revenue side will get a credit, balance for the revenue side. And then how are we going to spend the money? Is it going to be supplies? Is it going to be salaries? However the grant stipulates that we're going to spend the money, that's how I've put the budget into the system. You guys have to approve the budget revision. Once you approve these budget revision requests, the state has to approve them. Either the state finance director or the program director at the state. So whoever's over special education for the state would approve that IDEA grant. For those, and you'll see a few of them that are negative. So it says revision 105, state vocational equipment negative, and it's negative $4,497. That's simply there was a change in the state project code. When I do the budget in May, the budget for that state equipment was $4,497. The code no longer exists, so we're taking it out, so it's a negative. The one right after it, revision 106, it's positive $9,883. The new code, the new equipment state vocational grant is more than what we budgeted in May, and it's $9,883. If you look at revision 108, it's federal vocational, and it's federal vocational to the grant award. We would have budgeted money back in May for Carl Perkins federal vocational money, and the additional amount that wasn't included in May is $649. So my budget has to match the grant award that we receive. And that's really all. Total for revisions 101 through 115 is $118,159.
I found that, but I couldn't find it at first because it wasn't green.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I do
I'm
agree.
thinking was
And this dates back
have
to
that, but,
years ago. We used to have to we mailed these in, and they were always on green paper.
Now-
So I still put them on green paper for me. But now it's all online.
For approving the budget.
Second.
Okay, Larry made the motion, Scott seconded. Any other questions before we vote? Then all those in favor of the budget revision request, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries to approve the budget revisions. Policy review,
Nothing under policy review,
athletic schedules,
nothing under athletic schedules.
approval of requests.
We have quite a few trips that we're asking for approval. You can read down through those, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer, but that would be A through J, and I would ask for approval of all those.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the trip requests? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have any, questions about those trip requests? I have one.
Okay.
The, choir, are they singing at the hockey game?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. I couldn't, it wasn't listed in there, and I thought, are they just going to the hockey game for kicks and giggles, or are they singing there?
No, they're singing.
Neat,
We believe they sing the national anthem.
Yeah, usually they do.
that's great. Oh, and I see Suzette's having the coffee people.
I'm so excited. We're hosting the regional dyslexia training. So there'll be 8 counties here, and I wanted to showcase our students. And I'm like, have the coffee people come. What's it called? Castle Coffee or something?
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Good name too.
Yeah. Castle. Coffee too. Oh, good.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions about any of the trips? Okay, do I have a motion to, or we already did that, we're voting. All those in favor of the trip request, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries, all trips are approved. Okay, other requests.
Under other requests, A and B are both by Dr. Meckley. One is asking to use the middle school gym for basketball clinics on Sundays, and then B is for the Riverfront Athletics, which we discussed, I believe, earlier in an earlier meeting about them utilizing our SES gymnasium for their youth league practices. And then C is something different. I wanted to let you guys know what it is. A lot of middle schools or schools around the state are kind of are trying this and doing it. They're going to have at our middle school. They're going to have a middle school basketball boys and girls game during the school day, so all the students can watch. And then we're going to go. Then we're playing against New Martinsville at Tyler, and then we will go to New Martinsville, and they will have a school day game against our teams. A lot of teams around the state are trying this. It just gives kids the opportunity that may not get a chance to go watch a basketball game, and it'll be great. Kids will love it, and I think it'll be fun. So that's what C is there, and I would ask for approval of those 3 requests.
Okay, Larry made the motion, Diana seconded. Does anybody have any questions about these? The only thing is what I usually ask is that if our school needs the gym for those, then the practice would be moved.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have approved those requests. Personnel.
There are no resignations submitted after publication.
Okay, well, we might as well do the resignation.
Yep. Resignation, A, Stan Dennis resigns his position as assistant softball coach at Tyler Consolidated High School, effective immediately, and I would ask for approval of that.
Okay, do I have a motion for that resignation? Larry made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Andy seconded. Does anybody have any discussion on that resignation? If not, let's vote. All those in favor of accepting Stan Dennis's resignation for assistant softball coach at TCHS, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Under employment transfers and rescissions, A and B, A, employ Heidi Hubbard as cook at Tyler Consolidated High School effective immediately, and B, employ Tony Van Camp as cook at Sistersville Elementary School effective immediately. And I ask for approval of both of those.
Okay, do I have a motion to do those two employments?
Make a motion.
Diana made the motion. Do I have a second? Scott seconded. Does anybody have any questions about those employments? Okay, then we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, nothing under other personnel?
No.
Okay, allow and authorize payment of the bills. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Motion.
Andy made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Scott seconded. Any questions about the bills? Okay, then let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, payment of the bills is approved. Requests for agenda items for the next board meeting. Does anybody have anything they would like at this time? If not, you can call out here and get things put on at a later date.
I would like to say, just so it's in the minutes, that I had a lengthy conversation with Patrick Reimer today about the new elementary school. And I would think the November 4th meeting or that second meeting in November, we should have a conceptual drawing of the elementary school for you guys to see and for the public to be able to see. And then our goal is to move forward with those school closure hearings in January, just so that can be in the minutes. But there's a process that goes along with all that. Public comment time and all that. So we were working through those dates today, but my goal for the next meeting for sure is to bring you that timeline so you guys can see the exact timeline over the next 6 months of where we go.
That'd be great.
Mr. Holly, have they had, I remember when we went through the consolidation for the high school. In fact, I found a newspaper article from 1991 all about it. And, you know, we had a lot of, they didn't take necessarily our ideas, but we had several committees, you know, where we talked about it. Have the teachers met yet? Has there been an opportunity for the parents to meet? When will they talk about names and colors and?
So that comes, that'll be should be on the calendar. Something that we talked about today. But we had an Ed Specs group, which consisted of teachers from both schools, administrators, parents. The public was able to come, and that was last spring, summer. The day those people were able to meet. That's kind of where we came up with the ideas and concepts of what the inside of the school, for 21st century education in elementary schools, what an inside of the school should look like. So from that, now they've been working behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, I shouldn't say that, but they're working on conceptual drawings of what the school would look like setting on the piece of land that we have.
This is the group that was in that discussion.
Correct, the gentleman and, yes.
And they also, that team came to each elementary school and went through, with teachers, talked with teachers, with cooks and custodians to see how they use their current space.
They spent a full day at each elementary school,
Yeah.
and they even met with students to see what they would like. I sat in on those, and every single teacher was able to attend.
That was last year.
Yes.
And do they put it in the newspaper so the public knows?
Like when the meetings will be and things like
When they're allowed to come? Or-
Yeah, we did. We publicized it.
The public hearings will be in there too.
Public hearing. And the public hearing is also a time for people to come and say, hey, they can express their concerns, but they can say, hey, I would like to see this happen in that school too.
So are the public hearings after the school closures?
No, that's, I'm talking about all the same
Part
thing.
of it,
It's
yeah.
part of it.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, the next regular meeting will be held on Monday, November 4th at 7 o'clock here in this room. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to a quick executive session, please.
Okay, do I have, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, Andy seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Second?